This is big breaking emergency news. We now have the Biden administration warning that they are going to sign an executive order relating to the border. All right. This crisis at the border could potentially be over from this executive order, or it could be a facade and it could make things even worse. All right. We're going to dive into the details of that, of what's going on. Executive order going to be signed on the border by Biden. All right, we also have a island being seized by Texas that was overrun and being controlled by these gangs and these groups that are operating on the border. We have extreme fights, breakouts between Texas military and National Guard and these groups. All right, they're having entire battles with each other. All right. And this is happening on our southern border right now, and they had to seize an island that was being taken over as well and being used as a trafficking hub. All right, we also have an update, some new numbers coming out of Customs and Border Patrol sources. All right, they are reporting that we are still seeing hundreds every single day. We're seeing thousands a day. Every single day we're seeing in the range to 4,000 to 7,000 at least crossing every single day. All right, and we're also seeing hundreds of people a day crossing alone from countries like China. All right, this is very strange, very suspicious, and China has to know that there are thousands of people leaving their country. Hundreds every single day are leaving their country and coming to the U.S. and coming over our southern border for some reason. All right, you can see here, news sources just came out yesterday. It says that another 208 Chinese nationals apprehended by Border Patrol in San Diego sector just yesterday. It says in the last 3 days alone, there have been 452 Chinese nationals apprehended in the San Diego sector alone. Just in 3 days. In this one sector. Almost 500 people. All right, and it says those 3 days are already more than all of the Chinese nationals encountered in the entirety of the fiscal year of 2021 across the entire southern border. So there were only 450 Chinese national crossings total in 2021 for the total border, 450, and there were 452 just in San Diego sector in 3 days. So something is going on, and this is why we have Biden announcing that he's going to sign this executive order on the border as well. All right. We also have the Texas National Guard is now saying that they have been in this fight, in this battle with these gangs going on at the border. And these gangs are going back and forth. They're in our country. They're in every major city in our country, and they're waiting to be activated. And some of them are literally military units from foreign countries as well that are being set up and funded and facilitated by these foreign governments. All right, so this is a national security risk to our country. This is massive what's going on. This crisis needs to end. It needs to stop, and it could potentially be over from this executive order that's going to be signed, or it could make things even worse. All right, there could be some hidden agenda in the background, which I'm worried about, that's going to allow things to slip in and make it even worse. All right. But this battle here that was between the Texas National Guard and these gangs that operate on the border. All right. It says Texas celebrates taking island back from these gangs after military operation. It says the Texas Land Commissioner Dawn Buckingham said on Wednesday on Fox Business that she recently returned from Fronton Island, described as being, quote, the most violent part of the border. All right, this is a little island in the middle of the Rio Grande River that has been overrun and overtaken by these groups, and they're using it as this base to launch their operations into the United States. This is insane, and we're having battles between the National Guard and Texas military units and these gangs and these groups. This is insane. This is happening on our border right now. There's a war going on. There's an invasion going on. There's a battle going on right now on our southern border and our northern border as well. But our southern border is getting hit the hardest. It says the island, situated across a stretch of land in the Rio Grande in Texas's Starr County, was secured by the Texas National Guard and the Department of Public Safety. It said it was a site of continuous violence, right, and weapons and illegal things that are being trafficked across the border as well. It's essentially their own little hub that they set up in the middle of the river that they have been using as a operation base, and Texas has shut it down. Fronton Island, that's what it's called. All right, and while all this is going on, while the U.S. is in a crisis, these cities are collapsing. These cities like Denver, these cities like Boston, all these cities are being overwhelmed and overrun right now, these sanctuary cities, and it's intentional and being allowed to happen. And now we have Biden coming out and saying that he is going to sign an executive order on the border because the situation is so out of control that he is actually going to potentially do something good on the border. Right? The cards are in the air, but this is the word that's coming out. We don't know for sure until it's actually signed and what's actually in this executive order, but this is what's coming out of CNN. It says Biden considering new executive action to restrict asylum at the border, sources say. All right, this is coming out of CNN, just came out today, Wednesday, February 21st. All right, fresh off the press, they're saying that Biden is going to sign an executive order to restrict these asylum claims. And this is the big kahuna here, is this quote asylum. Everyone gets to come here and say they're scared, they're worried, they're fleeing whatever in their country, violence. And some people actually are, but it seems like it's a small percentage that are actually claiming this truthfully. Okay, I don't know for sure, but that's what it seems like. It seems like this system is being exploited and people are being told what to say. All right, they know what to say to get into our country and to get access to these benefits and to be put in these systems. All right, but it says that Biden is now going to potentially restrict these asylum claims with this executive action. So this is actually good news, and it's saying that it actually could bring back the Trump era policy where people, the remain in Mexico policy. That's what's being considered and proposed right now, which is what we've been saying for months now, that this is what needs to be put back in place, the remain in Mexico policy, where the asylum claims are processed while you're in Mexico. And a lot of these claims don't even make sense because you're supposed to file asylum in the first country that you get to. You're not supposed to pass through multiple different countries and then get to America and claim asylum. You're supposed to only be able to claim asylum if you're coming from essentially only Mexico or Canada or other very close, maybe Cuba, other countries like this. All right, you're not supposed to pass through other countries and then claim asylum in the U.S. You're supposed to claim asylum in those countries, and that's what they're going to be re-implementing potentially with this executive action. All right, this is coming out of CNN. It says the White House is considering executive action to restrict migrants' ability to seek asylum at the U.S.-Mexico border if they crossed illegally, a maneuver reminiscent of controversial action from the Donald Trump era, and is sure to invite fierce backlash from immigration advocates and progressives. All right, this isn't controversial. They need to go even further and restrict and tweak these rules even further because they're obviously being exploited right now. All right. It also, that's what's coming out of CNN. That's what they're saying. It also says, quote, the handling of the U.S.-Mexico border has dogged President Joe Biden for years as migration across the Western Hemisphere reached record levels and resulted in thousands of migrants arriving at the border. It's actually millions. I reported on just yesterday. Admitted encounters, checked encounters by Border Patrol, it's 7.2 million, and they admit there's at least around 2 million, quote, gotaways, and they're saying that the number is easily over 10 million, including gotaways, which could be, we don't even know the number. All right, so it's at least 10 million around. This was reported by Fox News yesterday. I showed the article. At least 10 million have entered our country since Biden has gotten in. This is insane. In 3.5 years, not even 3 years and a month. All right. This is bonkers and unsustainable, and it's an invasion and it's being allowed to happen. It says that this is coming from CNN. The action being considered at the White House appears to be an extension of some of the toughest measures in the border compromise legislation tanked by Republicans, and another sign of the White House's efforts to show they're aggressive on border security ahead of Election Day. All right, exactly. The only reason why they would even allow this border to be wide open like this is if they are setting the stage to potentially allow certain people in certain districts. Maybe, I'm not saying this is happening, all right, but it seems like this could be happening. Certain districts allowing them to vote, or at least using their name, using their identity to create votes, create names for votes. All right, not saying that is happening, but it's also affecting census data, bare minimum, because even people that aren't U.S. citizens are counted in the census. They will eventually get more electoral college votes for the presidency. That's going to affect that. And they will also get more House seats in the House of Representatives and will affect the legislation being passed. Bare minimum. That's guaranteed going to happen. And we also see states giving away driver's licenses and certain states actually passing laws to allow non-citizens to vote in their states and in their local elections. All right, so there could potentially be some crossover. It's a slippery, very slippery slope that we are entering in. All right, and they're saying that they are going to execute this action because it looks so bad. It looks terrible for Election Day, and it really does. It does not look good for the Biden administration, and that's why we are seeing an about-face, a 180 turn here, saying that they are going to implement potentially Trump-era border policies, right? So we were told for years that this is the worst thing ever, and this is a moral, humanitarian crisis, all these things, but now we are seeing it's come full circle, and the crisis is so bad that they are now announcing that they might have to bring back the Trump-era policies. So please hit it up for me down there. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Let me know down below, do you think Biden is actually going to do this? Or do you think there's going to be some rigmarole in there? There's going to be a little back door in there that says, oh, we're going to let in 1,000 a day, or we're going to let in. That's how this border bill was, that they only shut it down after 5,000 people a day were being let into the country, which is insane, which is still 150,000 a month, which is still over 1 million a year. It's like, this is insane that this is being codified into law. That's what they want to do, and this executive order could have some backdoors in it like that, where this policy will only go into place when crossings exceed X amount of number per day. All right, we could see situations like that where it's still limited, but they have the perception here of saying, hey, we did this executive action, we are shutting down immigration, and we're stemming the flow. All right, and they can do this. The whole time they're saying that they could not do this exclusively through executive action, and now we have them coming out and saying they're going to do an executive order on the border. All right, so which one is it? Does the federal government have control over the borders, like the Supreme Court even said they can remove Texas's barriers, right? Or did they not have control over the border and complete control? Which one is it? All right, we know the answer. We know they have control. We know they can shut it down. It was shut down previously with no laws passed or anything. And they were even when they were trying to build this border wall, it was only around $15 billion. $15 billion. Think of the hundreds of millions we've sent overseas for these wars, these continuous wars. Think of this $98 billion package they just passed to go overseas. $98 billion. It would have only taken $15 billion to build a giant wall along our southern border. That's chump change for the amount of money that our country is spending on this nonsense. And think of we were supposed to have this Build Back Better. We're supposed to have this great critical infrastructure. We're supposed to rebuild our country with all this trillions, billions of dollars. Nothing's been rebuilt. There's been no innovation. The roads are junk. I've traveled all over the country. the highway systems. And I know it's a lot of it's maintained by the states. That's why it's the roads are different in every state, even on interstate highways, right? But federal funding should have went towards that. Repairing our roads, repairing our airports, our railroad system, our train system. All these things are just ancient. They're rotting. They're falling apart. They're crippling our electrical grid. All these things should be futuristic, high tech. We have all the money. We've spent all the money. What's the national debt now? 34 trillion. We're spending it on all this crap, devaluing our currency, spending on this crisis. 452 billion a year, it's estimated, being spent on this quote migrant crisis. All right, we should be living in the future, and we're not. It's being robbed. I have kids. It's being taken away from our kids, taken away from your grandkids. This future that we built for our country, it's being taken away very quickly, very fast. They're taking away the American dream and stealing it, right? And part of the reason is with this insurmountable debt that we have, this money printing that we have, and now we're just giving it all away too to people that aren't even U.S. citizens. It's insane. And we have nothing to show for it. There's nothing to show for it. There's nothing. What's one thing we can point to and be like, we built that. We built this one thing. You look at these other countries, they're building futuristic stuff all over the place. Futuristic cities and towns and transportation systems, electrical grids, all these things. Their military, building it up. New ships, all our stuff's outdated. It's rusty. They're not putting the money back into our country. We're paying all this money in, and they're taking it all out. They're just siphoning it all out right away. All right, they're stealing our future, and this immigration crisis is part of it. It's part of it because now we are bringing in millions of people that are not, a lot of them are not going to be able to integrate into our society and are going to permanently be fixed on these welfare systems. So make sure you're getting ready. Make sure you're getting stocked up. Make sure you are getting prepared, getting your homestead ready. We got our garden going outside. All right, we got our generator here. We got our gas tanks filled up. We got our water tanks filled up. We have our prepper pantry filled up. Okay, we have a bunch of seeds. We have a bunch of chicks. Let me give you guys a chick update here really quick. All right? Lots of chicks here. Okay? This is what you need to be working on. This is what we're working on. This is how you're going to thrive, survive in this new system. We got to create our own systems, right? Because this system it's on the verge of a collapse. I don't want that to happen, but they are accelerating it. And they're trying to make this system collapse. And there's going to be a new system. There's going to be a new beast system that comes in the aftermath of it. And they're going to try to track, trace every little thing we do. And they're going to try to lock people out of the system. So that's why we have to have our own systems in our own way and our own economies. So we are ready for when this happens. Our own local economies and local bartering, local trading. All right, so thank you guys. I hope you have big blessings. Please hit it up for me down there. I appreciate that. It helps to get this video out, get this word out. People need to know what's going on in our country, and they need to get prepped. They need to get ready. All right, so thank you guys. Hope you have big blessings for your life and your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.